Hi, welcome to another episode of Home Projects with Carpenter. I've got a project where I want to do some painting. I want to paint the outside of my house, and I've got some eaves that are about 23 feet tall at the top of the eave, and then even the sides are up to about 17, 18 feet. So I've got a problem where I want to get up there and paint it. We got to do all the prep, the stripping, and all that stuff, and that requires getting up higher. But I'm not really comfortable doing it all off of ladders. Got a really wide area, especially on this side of the house, where I've got to get up there, and going up and down ladders just doesn't sound good. So what I thought I'd do is do a quick video on building some scaffolding for myself. I did the calculation on how much it would cost for the lumber for the scaffolding and just weighed that against the cost of just buying a new 24 or 28 foot ladder. And it's about a wash with a 24-foot ladder and the amount of material for the lumber. So I figured I would just buy the material. So I got it yesterday. So before I get started on the building of it, I just did want to show you what the elevation of my house looked like. And right at that top eave, it's about 23 feet to the very top. And then the side is probably about 17 feet. So that's about where I'm going to build it. Right about there. So this ladder standing up, that's a 14-foot ladder. So that's just to give you a little bit of scale. I'm going to build it about 2 feet higher than that so I can put a ladder on top of the scaffolding, on top of the platform. And then I can slide it from side to side underneath my eaves. All right, so here's an image, or at least a diagram of our house. It's 23 feet to that top eave. If I were to superimpose a ladder on here, I mean, I've got a 14-foot ladder, so the 14-foot ladder would go to about here. So there's the height of a 14-foot ladder, and it's about, like that. And imagine I'm a guy who's about just under 6 feet. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I stand up to about here, and I can reach up to about here. So that's about where I would be able to reach to. So imagine me standing on this top little piece right here. It's just not a pretty sight, and then you end up having to, really kind of move all the way around, and I still can't reach the top, and I'm going around and around and around, and it's pretty unstable. So my concept is actually going to be to get. I'm not going to do any of this ladder work, or at least very minimal. What I wanted to do was do a scaffold. So I'm going to build 2 wooden ladders, if you will, where I'm going to build 2 of these ladders that are about 16 feet. So if this is 16 feet tall, and then these are 2 feet on center, something like that. And then I'm going to build, in essence, I'm going to build 2 of these things. So I'm going to build one like that, and then build another one. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to draw this down here a little bit. So you get the idea. The basic concept is to build 2 of these scaffolding ladders, and these members right here will be 2x6s, the 4 legs, 16 feet tall, and the rungs, if you will, are going to be 2x4s, and they're going to be 43 inches. So if I were to kind of zoom in on this thing, I got 43 inches this way between the ends, and then I got another 1.5 inches, for the 2x6 members. So the overall dimension is 46 inches. So it'll be 46 inches this way. And then this direction from here to here, center to center, is going to be about 7 feet. So that way, when I have 8-foot 2x10s, I've got some 8-foot 2x10s, I'm just going to lay like that. And I'll probably nail them down just at various levels. And I'm also going to add some cross braces. So the cross braces will kind of generally go like this, and then I'll have another set of cross braces here,
It's going to get real messy. And then another set of cross braces here, something like that. Then what I'm also planning on doing is just adding a few what they call kickers. So those are going to give it some rigidity so it doesn't tip over. So it doesn't, you know, tip over that way. So I'm going to add some kickers down here, some something like that, and another one like that. And then over on my dirt, I'll just drive some stakes in, and then I can just nail them in on both sides. So that should give it a little bit of stability so it will be able to function. And I'll have to take these out every time I move it around, and that's not a big deal. Or I'll just unbolt them and then I'll move some different stakes. But then that will be a kind of a ladder system that will take me, you know, so if I was just looking at just straight on in this elevation view, this would get me right up to about here. And it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it'll be about right here. I think that's right. 4, yeah. Something like that. So if I were just to look at it in that view, then that gives me just some good scaffolding looking thing here. Alright, so I'm done with my layout here, and what I ended up doing was setting my tape. I did these 2 feet on center, but what I did was I set my tape 7 3/4 inches out here, and that way I can hold from that point every 2 feet to the end of each one of these. So then I went 2 feet and I just marked every 2 feet. So that puts this 2 feet from the center all the way down. And so I marked all those out. So at 2 feet, and then 2 feet, 3.5 inches, and then 4 feet, 4 and 3.5 inches, and so on and so forth. Just mark those all the way down, and then just marked out in the center of this is going to be 1.5 inches, and so you got 2 inches on each side with the 5.5 inch member. So I just measured 2.5, 2.5, 1.5 inches, and just squared it all off with my speed square. All right, so what I've got is my framing nailer. I'm going to use 1.25 inch by 131s. They're just sinkers. I'm going to use 3 of those in each one of the ends of my legs. So I've got it all laid out. I'm going to shoot one edge and then pull it back and then shoot the other edge. So I've got one of the pieces assembled with 2 of the cross braces. That's going to actually be the bottom of the scaffolding. That's where those cross braces are. I'm going to have 2 more sets of cross braces on the right side and then 3 on the left side. So I'm building. All right, so I've got both of the sets of ladders built with 2 of the cross bracing on each side. So what I'm going to end up doing is tilting one ladder up with its cross bracing and then the opposite one with its cross bracing, so they'll marry up at the bottom. I'll nail those off together and then we'll plumb it up and then nail those off, and then I'll get the other pieces of cross bracing up all the way along on the top. Squared this thing up was I had some helpers, but I nailed in 2 cross pieces, or actually these are just
laterals going from here. I nailed them in here, and I left them loose on that side, and I nailed them in down here on this side, and then I left it loose on that side. And then come over on this side, I'll show you. And what I did was I measured out where I wanted it to be. I wanted the width to be exactly 7 feet. So I measured that out. So I moved this ladder section with these cross braces that were nailed in here but free on that side. I slid this over this way just so it lined up here and lined up on that one. And in essence, I created a large parallelogram. So it was parallel this way and parallel this way. So that's not stable because you could theoretically tilt it one way or the other. That's why you have the cross braces. Once I had those were set, so it was exactly 7 feet across here, and then 7 feet across here and here. Then I plumbed this one up with my 6 foot level, and as soon as I got it where it was plumb, then I nailed the 2 cross pieces here. Actually, I didn't nail the last one, but I did this one, and then actually these 2 were nailed in, and so I nailed here and here those ones, and then I connected that one on the bottom, and I'll add one more here, and then it's pretty rigid. I mean, it's like pretty stable. It goes all the way up 16 feet, so I think it's pretty good. What I'm going to end up doing is putting in 2 more sets of cross braces, one more here and one more here on both sides, and that should keep it nice and rigid. And then I'll have these as my 7 foot on center supports, and I'll use some 2x10s going across. I might just leave these in place just to keep these nice and rigid, so that as I'm climbing up and down, I have something to grip onto.
Okay, so here's the finished product. The cross braces, they sure don't look pretty, but those 2 in the middle look all kind of wonky, but that's all right. Did add these kickers like I mentioned in the diagram that I drew up, so that gives it some stability so it doesn't turn over, and added another one over here. So as I mentioned, I'll just pull those out of the ground as I need to move it from side to side along the wall. I also added some blocks underneath each one of the railings, so each one of those railings has a 2x block that I added, because I only have 3 nails going into each side of those, so I figured better safe than sorry. So yeah, so I think that's a pretty good configuration. I've been all the way up to the top, and I've probably going to add a railing up at the very, very top eave, so that's 16 feet at the very, very top right there, and that gets me up to that eve at 23. I can slide it all the way over to my far right side, so that's 17 feet. So it'll slide underneath that little 2 foot eave anywhere underneath there. So yeah, so I think that'll do good. It'll be a little bit of a challenge sliding it back and forth, but we can manage. I get a lot of helpers. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, and we'll look forward to you seeing on the next one.